Hey, Grove family, we're starting a new session today called 10 Minutes with Trey on Thursdays. Trey is our pastor of counseling. We're just sitting back, having some coffee, very casual discussion. So today we're going to be talking about how should you talk to your kids about the coronavirus. 3 weeks ago, before this really got serious, Natalie and I were in the car with our kids and Graham coughed. And I said, Graham has the coronavirus. And then Johnny said, our oldest, Graham has the coronavirus, and then Graham started crying, saying, I don't have the coronavirus. And Natalie just kind of stared me down like the whole thing was not appropriate, and now more than ever, of course it's not. I'm guessing it was not a good idea.
Very true. Now that we have the perfect example of what not to do, Trey, what would you say are some good things and how we should approach our kids on this topic?
Especially now that it's so serious, too.
Sure. Yeah, it has gotten a lot more serious, and I'm sure a ton of people have made jokes like that. But then where do you go from there is a good question. And I think there are a few things to remember. One is it's important to talk to your kids about the coronavirus. It's one of those things that you really want to bring up because they're going to have ideas. You'll probably be surprised by what they tell you when you hear it. You'll be like, oh, wait, where'd they get that? So it's important too because you want to be the one who gets to influence that. You want to be the one who gets to set those parameters and set those limits with your kids and help them understand what's age appropriate for them to understand. But really before you do it, it's important to kind of put the spotlight on you for a minute and kind of know what you're feeling. It's really important because if you're feeling something and you don't deal with it, then everything that you feel is going to leak out in what you tell your kids. And so it kind of takes away your ability to really give them what they need because it's leaking your feelings out. So but knowing what you think and feel and being able to deal with that, that's huge.
How honest should you be with your kids about the extent of the coronavirus and how serious it's getting?
I think it's really important to be honest and age appropriate. You know what your kids, how they think, where they are developmentally. So you don't want to jump above that. So you want to make it age appropriate, but you want to be honest. You let them know it is a big deal. Help them know what a virus is. One of the big things that you can do is teach them what they can do about it. Then all of a sudden you've taken this to a place where it's easy to have something to do. Anytime we're anxious, having something to do helps. So, teach them good hand washing. There are some great videos on that. Teach them all kinds of different things. Help them look at social distancing, help them look at those and frame it all as safety. These are things we're doing to stay safe while we're dealing with a virus that really is impacting the whole world.
Yeah, I know a lot of kids are even having questions why they can't see their grandparents right now and why we're staying away, and don't want them necessarily to think that their kids are going to die if they see them, but just trying to be cautious and bend the curve.
Definitely. And the more you can help them frame that as safety and be like, we're doing this because we love our grandparents and it's going to be different for a little while, but it won't be that way forever. You want to help them realize that forever is not what we're looking at. This is for a little while. And it's going to feel like forever because kids don't have a really good sense of time. So the more you can remind them over and over again, no, this is not forever, this is just for this week. And
that's good for adults to realize too.
This isn't our new forever.
Yes.
Thank goodness, yeah.
Definitely.
How about speaking from a stay-at-home mom perspective, how about creating structure in your daily routine now with this new normal?
Structure is huge. Structure is what kids look to feel safe. So structure is important. If you can make it look a little bit like your previous structure, it'll help a lot. The more you can make it look like that, the better things will be. You also want to think of, when you're putting that structure together, think of big categories like exercise time or art time. And then you go back and you just fill it in with a different activity every day. So then they've got this is our exercise time. What are we doing today? So then it reinforces this is big, huge structure, even though you're changing up what you're doing every day.
And same thing, I'm guessing that's good for adults too.
Absolutely.
To have a plan,
Definitely.
especially those, who aren't stay-at-home moms, but those are now at home.
Yes.
And they're there just to have a plan. I know I function really good on a schedule.
Oh, definitely.
So good for adults to do too.
Definitely, and the more you keep things the same, the better off they'll be. Getting up at the same time, that you would usually do, doing your normal morning routine. Those things will just reduce anxiety through the day.
In regards to helping our kids understand the safety aspects of this, what are some things that we should teach them to stay safe?
I think one of the big ones is hand washing. Go over washing their hands. Let them know that you're going to be cleaning surfaces and get them to help you with it. That's something that they can do. You know, you have a wipe, they can wipe things down with you. And just make it kind of a new normal for them. Say, this is how you keep safe. And you can talk about how that broadens out to other viruses as well. You know, these are good germ prevention kinds of things that we can be learning. That's an important thing to look at.
All right. And what about, we're already spending a lot of time together, but how can you distinguish your time together as a family to ensure that safety, to make them feel more safe at home?
Sure. Like, one of the big things to do is to make sure that you spend a little more time, having physical contact. That touching, that being with them, more hugs. Those are really good, important things. But also, don't forget that it's okay to schedule you time too. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't do a good job taking care of them. So don't feel guilty about more screen time. Screen time is important.
Can I say amen to that?
Yes, absolutely. Those kinds of things, they need to be able to do things on their own as well. So you want to increase some family time and give some separate times. That's an okay kind of a thing too.
And there's our kids right there in my office. Sorry about that. Kids are in my office because we can't get a babysitter in this time, and they spilled Cheetos.
Yes.
They spilled Cheetos. All right.
Oh, yes.
So,
Well, it's important to be flexible and adaptable and roll with the punches.
I'm working on it.
We're
Trey.
doing a lot of that.
Look, we're going to talk more about this once the camera's off. But in regards, you said it's okay to have more screen time, but I'm sure that parents need to be very careful with their kids watching their phones or their device upstairs. What advice do you have for that to make sure they're not coming across something that's not good?
Sure. I think one of the important things to really make sure you look at is you talk to them about what they're seeing and how they're interpreting it, because those may be two drastically different things. They may be hearing a lot and pulling stuff out of it it's not even saying. So you want to ask them about that. Talk to them about social media. Talk to them about what their friends are saying or what they're hearing, what they're seeing. And that's an important question to ask. And then amount of time with news kind of things. You want to look at that, even just playing it in the background. It's not really good background noise. It makes everybody anxious, just because the way they're talking about it and what they're saying, and every announcement they have is some new big thing, and so then you're like, wah. So it's not a good background noise. You want to limit your amount of time of that, and limit the amount of time that they're experiencing that. So some of it is picking good things for screen time. Comedies are great. Laughing is important. As a family, you really need to be laughing during this time. Mm-hmm. Laughing is very healing. So making sure that you laugh and picking things that help with that.
I know that we have a rule in our household that our kids can't watch the computer upstairs by themselves, that they need to be in the family room area. Our kids are still younger, but even we had a family friend whose kids, once they were teenagers, they had to turn their phones in downstairs at 7:30 at night so that they wouldn't be alone. In this day and age, you can access anything. So I think it's good to help your kids be safe and not go to sites where you wouldn't want them to go to. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Supervision is important.
And what about the way that, you kind of talked a little bit about this, but how our kids are interpreting things and the way that their minds work?
Certainly.
How do you protect them in that too, or usher them into reality?
Definitely. One of the big things with kids is we call it magical thinking, that they put things together and believe that that's true. So you might see a lot of kids thinking that, oh, well, this is going to be me, I'm going to get the virus, or I'm going to give the virus to somebody, even when they don't have it. So it's important to kind of walk through that, kind of see what they're thinking, and help kind of straighten out some of their magical thinking. It's one of those things that, you're talking about their grandparents and safety, but you don't want them to think they just made their grandparents sick. So you have to kind of listen for that and kind of work on correcting that along the way.
I think it's a great time to even coach your kids not to be afraid. We have one family friend that said their daughter said, well, if I get it, it's okay. I'll go to heaven with grandma. like in their mind, they're already thinking about that. Where it's like, well, yeah, I mean that's true. That's not going to happen more than likely. But you're right. We can trust in God in this time, and if anything ever happens to us, the good news is we'll be with Him. So there's a lot of teaching moments that I think that we can capitalize on right now.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of good little kid-friendly verses to memorize, that don't be afraid and trust in the Lord. But pulling those out and making that a part of what you do with your kids is great.
Well, thanks, Trey. This was very helpful
Trey.
Certainly.
for our kids and for me personally.
Glad.